Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for everyone who's here prompt at 2 o'clock for our virtual Venture Cafe. My name is Shaheen Hakimi. I'm the director at Venture Cafe in Cambridge. I want to thank our longtime community members and welcome our first-time members. Venture Cafe, activated by Innovation Studio, is a social platform designed to expand innovation and entrepreneurship within our regions. Innovation and entrepreneurship aren't something that just happens. It's with the help it's an arduous process, and with the help of our partnerships with people like RBS, PDL, and ADUSA Supply Chain Services, we try and make that process a bit easier on everyone and accelerate economic development and job growth. So I really want to give a hearty thank you to RBS, who has been our sponsor, in addition to PDL and ADUSA Supply Chain Services for this program. The culmination of our Seed Immersion program is here today, our Seed Live. So with that, I want to introduce Kate Weaver, my good friend from RBS and Peapod Digital Labs. She is the lead supplier on diversity and inclusion. Welcome, Kate.
Hello, Shaheen, and thank you so much for having us. This has been a great past 10 weeks, and I was fortunate enough to be asked to be on some planning committee, and it was just so great getting to meet the SEED participants, as well as all the different stakeholders across the ADUSA family. The RBS team, Harsh, he's one of the hardest working guys in show business. You're going to hear from him later, and just our committee members have been amazing. So I have the distinct honor of introducing our keynote speaker today. But before we get to that, I want to put in a plug for today's events, because there's lots of activities that are going on today. You're going to hear from Roger in just a moment. There's going to be a panel discussion after that about the future of grocery shopping. Little break, a little music interlude. There's going to be a TED-style talk with some industry insights. And then the moment we've all been waiting for is the Shark Tank, and that happens at 4:30. I'm going to be like the ultimate stage and dance mom off in the wings as we watch all of our participants give their final pitches. Then Harsh, the man with the plan, the man of the hour, will be giving his closing remarks at 5:25. 5:30, we'll do a little networking and demo and enjoy virtual networking as no one has done ever before. So without further ado, let's make sure that Roger can join the stage. And I would like to formally introduce him. For those of you who don't know, Roger Wheeler is the president of Retail Business Services, the services company of Ahold Delhaize USA. Now, what Roger's going to do is he's going to give us a more in-depth view of RBS and what it does in just a moment. But broadly speaking, the company provides just a wide array of services, essential services that omni-channel brands need to run their businesses, including business integrity services such as legal, risk management, quality assurance, business services, HR technology systems, and process management, communications and omni-channel service, finance business services, financial planning and analysis, human resources, indirect sourcing, information technology, pharmacy services, retail innovation, store development, leasing and facility support, and strategy and business development. Roger has an extensive background in the grocery retail industry with deep experience in retail operations, category management, supply chain, and project management. Now, prior to his current role, he actually was the U.S. lead in the merger between Ahold USA and Delhaize America. And before that, before joining Ahold USA, Wheeler worked for Shaw's Supermarkets in numerous roles, including vice president, store manager, buyer, and category manager. He holds a bachelor's degree in systems engineering from West Point and an MBA from Bentley University. But one of my favorite little factoids about Roger, he is a veteran of the United States Army and served in the Persian Gulf War. Thank you for your service. Without further ado, I will turn it over to Roger, and I will be your slide flipper.
Okay. Thanks, Kate, for that nice introduction. And good afternoon, everybody. I'm very happy to be here today to talk about a little bit about retail business services, but mostly to focus on the topic of innovation. I'm excited to, for this whole event. I thank everybody who's putting it together and everyone who's participating, and looking forward to see how it all plays out later this afternoon and kind of how the teams present and how that ends up. You'll also have an opportunity today to hear from Heather Paquette, who leads our Retail Innovation Center of Excellence. And so that'll be exciting because she has a unique perspective on the topic. And really, I want to talk about innovation in general and what it means for the retail industry. And when I talk about the retail industry, it's important to think about it, not just, we're a supermarket, basically organization, but it's truly end to end. If you think all the way back, from point of origin, whether that's a farm or a production facility, whether that's in the United States or anywhere in the world, all the way through our very, complex, complicated supply chain, and ultimately, to the shelf. And that shelf might be a physical shelf or it might be a digital shelf. And a lot of that is partly how much has changed in the industry over the last several years, which is what's driving a lot of this need for innovation to keep up with the changing needs of the consumer and with the way that the industry is progressing. But first, I'd like to talk a little bit more about retail business services. And Kate did a nice job, and maybe if you can push to the next slide, Kate, the kind of explaining what we do in terms of functionally, because it's a fairly large group of functions. But retail business services in itself, it was an innovative concept. During the merger of Ahold and Delhaize, we could have just said, well, let's make a shared service organization. That's a pretty normal thing to do. But we put a little different twist on it. And she was going to, what we decided to do was make it its own independent company. And we did that for a few reasons, because we felt that would give us greater focus to be of service to the great local brands, but also gives us the opportunity to provide our services to organizations outside of our family of brands. That also makes us really in need for being more innovative and finding the right partners, because we're just really starting to work on that part of our model. And that's why innovation is actually such an important concept for us right now. And maybe if you want to push me one more slide, Kate. Talk a little bit about kind of what we do and who we support. And I think most people probably have some sense of this. But we're really in support of 5 very large grocery retail brands on the East Coast, about 2,000 stores in total and $52 billion in sales, really market leaders in all the geographies on the East Coast. But what's, the trend here, which I think everybody's well aware of, is the rapid growth of the e-commerce business and the acceleration of that, which was a big trend really prior to the pandemic, but then the pandemic has accelerated that to a great extent. And that's not just true for our organization, but across, the entire country, all the industries, really the world. The pace at which the e-commerce and online growth has occurred has really been phenomenal, and it's continuing. If you can give me one more slide. So we try to ground everything in retail business services based on our promise. And our promise is that retail business services provides innovative solutions by leveraging scale and expertise so our partners can focus on building great local brands. And so right in our name, really, you get at, one of our hearts of what we're trying to do, which is not just provide, the classical type of services that you would expect, like whether it's legal services or accounting services. We do so much more than that. And that's why we're also focused on innovative solutions. And part of the way in which we try to bring innovation into our culture and make it part of our DNA is around how we've set up specific responsibilities and functions within our teams. So people have the time, the space, and the responsibility to help drive innovation. So I previously mentioned Heather Paquette's area for a Retail Innovation Center of Excellence to modernize inside the 4 walls of the store. But we also have inside of our IT organization, our Propulsion Lab, which is where we incubate and really, cultivate the earliest stages of innovation. So this is all wrapped around what we call our Omni-Channel connected customer strategy. And that's driven in part by some large trends that we see that have emerged in the overall industry. And I think that as you look across, every part of the equation is in flux right now, and competition has changed dramatically in this space. There's some very large competitors everyone's moving rapidly to try to secure the digital relationship with customers, because that's truly the currency of the future. And when you think about one of these first trends around personalized value, years ago, in the grocery space, it was basically try to figure out a way to show what you had for products online and make it so customers could order them. And that was sort of the definition of an e-commerce proposition. But that's rapidly changed, and I'm sure everyone really understands that. The race now is about, moving from mass marketing to personalized one-on-one relationships with customers based on their needs, based on their definition of value. And so this is obviously driven by big data and more precise algorithms to help curate an offering on an individual customer's tastes and preferences, but also to provide value in a way that makes sense to them. So it's not just targeted coupons based on their purchase preferences, but it's everything around, what is their dietary considerations, what motivates them to make something more of an experience. And there's great data around this, to share that I think it's as high as customers are spending, or Americans are spending, almost 6 hours a day on their devices. And more than 63 times a day, people check their phone. And so this is the connection, that we need to build that digital relationship. And really what we're also finding is the customers value that. They're not, they don't want to have relationships with many different, retailers where they can get the same type of thing. It's too much, there's too much effort to kind of participate, to get all of your information correctly loaded in your payments and start to build your history, and so their algorithms can work for you. So it's really important in terms of customer retention and loyalty to be able to offer that, customized experience for shoppers in a way that goes across channels. Because the other thing that's really important to understand is, while the omni-channel category is, the e-commerce channel is growing, it's growing tremendously, and predictions are that in the next 3 to 4 years, it could be 20% of the business. 80% of the business is still occurring inside brick and mortar. And so when you think about that, it's the ability to navigate that customer across the different channels, whether they're shopping in store or they're doing a pickup or they're doing delivery, and whichever way they're moving through that they're getting a consistent experience in how they're navigating and interacting with the brand. And so this is going to be a key area where there'll be a lot of innovation coming. There'll be a great race in terms of trying to close the gap in some regards to the very large organizations that are further advanced. When you think about Amazon and others that have really taken quite larger steps than others. But it's going to be a critical one for all of retail to be good at in order to fend off the giants. The second topic around a big trend is convenient and easy omni-channel, and I spoke about it a little bit already, but it's really becoming clear that people value the flexibility of how and when, and they have plenty of options, right? So there's no more convenience is becoming something that's a table stakes, and being able to meet the customer's needs and the pace at which they're expecting it to change. It used to be that pickup was fine and delivery within a couple of days was fine, and now it's how do you get delivery in the same day? How do you get delivery in 2 hours or less? And all these type of challenges that are requiring retailers to think differently and to innovate very quickly, because the customer's expectations are changing very fast, and they also want it to be seamless. And so when you think about when I was talking about inside the four walls of the store, and a customer may, they may build their list and they may load their offers and things on their phone at home, but they may choose to shop in store. And how do you connect that? How do you find a way that even while they're in the store, they're still enjoying the digital experience and being offered, opportunities in store to find more value, to find more products, to complete a recipe, to find their dietary needs. And they really don't want to, they don't want to be slow. They don't want to be inconvenienced, or they don't want to slow down. So how can they still use that same device, scan the items, pay for them, and just walk out the store without ever having to stop at the cash register? So there's a secondary effort around making sure that we're connecting the omni-channel experience across all channels. And it's actually easier and faster to build that on on the app side, or on that part of the front end experience. But when you try to integrate it across all the channels, particularly inside the four walls of the store, the hurdles are actually even larger. So the customer has that expectation, and they're also looking just for easy and convenient meal preparation. So you see this now with the trend. People are eating more at home. The pandemic has changed people's habits in that regard. People are cooking more, but they're looking for easier to prepare, more experiential type solutions. Even though they are cooking more from scratch, the growth is all in, further prepared, easy to assemble, fast to make a decision, but also fresh, convenient, value-oriented meals and sides and all those type of things. It's been a growth category for a long time, but the expectation now is more to kind of transform what used to be a supermarket would carry ingredients to be something that really carries solutions and meals and helps you with the planning for that as well, and the delivery if necessary. And then the last trend that is a really large one that we're basing a lot of our work around is health and sustainability. And so while people are shopping differently, they're more conscious and more aware of what they're eating and where it comes from. And they're concerned about the nutritional value, but they're also very much concerned around, their own health and well-being. I think I read a statistic that the average American has at least, I think it's 3 apps loaded on their phone that have around health and wellness. It's a $4.5 billion industry right now. And our customers, are telling us that sustainability along with wellness really matters, right? They want transparency, where the products come from. They want to know how they're, the sustainability of the supply chain that brought it there. What are the conditions in which it was grown and processed? Was it not only good for the environment, but what are the working conditions, human rights issues? And so this creates a different need for, first of all, being able to assemble that information and that data and make it transparent for the customer. So they're looking for more just general health, wellness, and transparency. We're making big commitments in this regard. So particularly with our private brand products, we've made a lot of commitments about what we're doing in terms of, say, packaging and plastic reduction. So by 2025, we've committed to be 100% reusable, recyclable, or compostable in all of our private brand packaging, and reduce by 25% the total plastic content, and moving to clean labels. So it's removing, artificial ingredients and artificial colors and artificial sweeteners. And that's, customers appreciate that. That's what they're looking for. And they're also looking to know who are our suppliers and our supplier base, and the diversity of our suppliers. And this is an area, particularly in retail business services, where we have the indirect sourcing team doing all of our goods not for resale. And we have a lot of initiatives, and Kate actually, leads this and helps us with this, about reaching out and finding more and more, smaller businesses, minority businesses, and making sure that we're being, as a large organization, good partners for all of the communities we serve, for all of the various stakeholders in our larger ecosystem. And it matters to the customer and it matters to us. And so we spend quite a bit of time. And if you kind of tie these three themes together, you can see how the omni-channel and connected customer strategy, delivered locally through our great local brands, why we've kind of added that up together to be what we're trying to support at Retail Business Services. If you can hit me with the next one, please, Kate. So I'll take just a minute to talk about, where do we think, innovation is going and what's important to us right now as we kind of think about innovation across this broader landscape. And I would say that, and particularly because of, say, the pandemic, there's been a high focus on immediate solutions. So if there are near-term, fix a problem now, provide a solution in the moment through innovation, those are being adopted very quickly, and those are very helpful. So for an example, something like ultraviolet, floor cleaning machines to help sanitize a distribution center, or things that solve a practical problem that we're experiencing, are where we've had some breakthroughs in the last year or two. The second one that's really kind of an obvious one, but it permeates the entire end-to-end supply, the whole spectrum of retail, is automation. And it could be very small automation to take out repetitive tasks, all the way up to full-scale automated fulfillment centers and distribution centers. And there's a number of reasons here. One being, of course, very tight labor market. It's becoming increasingly difficult, as everyone is aware, at whatever starting wage, to have enough workforce to support a lot of the work today that is repetitive and very manual. So the business case for automation is actually becoming more attractive in those areas. But it also, takes value, takes work that is less value added and frees up those resources to work on things that could be particularly more value added. So even inside the four walls of the store, small tasks that can be automated, free up associates to help customers in their omni-channel journey. And because we're retail, we're not necessarily on the cutting edge or the bleeding edge of innovation, although we do enjoy that, and we are eager to do proof of concepts and pilots, and that's part of what this program is all about. And we have teams set up for that in our propulsion lab or our retail innovation center. We're typically a little bit more of a second mover, sort of technology that's a little bit proven that we can adopt and roll out at scale, because we have such a large store base and that we support, and such a large supply chain. But that doesn't mean we're not very interested in, in certain areas being first movers. And I think the last one is more and more about innovation for our associates. And when you think about whether they're in the distribution centers or they're in our, the stores of the brands that we support, there's an awful lot of tasks that are going on that are, really kind of labor intense, but not really adding a lot of value. And the associates don't really enjoy doing them either. So whether it's, better tools for task management or inventory replenishment or production planning, or all the different ways in which we can simplify some of that to free up the associates or give them more mobility, associate mobility, and put the tools in their hands so they can be mobile throughout the store and engaging with customers. There's a lot of value unlock for us in making our associates more effective through innovation and technology. So I think I've probably gone quite through most of my time. I really appreciate an opportunity to speak to you. I hope you found that informative to some degree. And I have a couple minutes left here. If there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer a few questions with the few minutes that we have left.
Yeah, we got one from Daniel. The question is, Roger, what is your number one challenge at the moment?
That's a great question. And and I'm going to answer it quite specifically because it's quite a specific question. At this moment, our number one challenge is the supply chain. And that's because the whole thing is, from end to end struggling based on the pandemic, labor shortages across all parts of from our suppliers, from ports being not open overseas, from major manufacturers not being able to ship what we ask for in the timelines that we ask for distribution centers where we can't get enough labor. That has continued to be our biggest challenge over the last 18 months, and it still is.
Great answer. I'm sure supply chain will resolve all the issues very soon.
Yeah, they're all glad I said that, I'm sure.
Yeah. So we have another question. What will be your what problem are you most looking forward solving in 2022 next year?
Next year, I think one of the we're going to solve a lot of things next year, but I think one of the things that we're really solving for is, and it's really an evolution on what we've been building with our Omni-Channel. So we were very fortunate that we got out in front prior to the pandemic of building over 1,000 click and collect locations. We've also got a great, next day delivery system, and we're pressing into same day delivery. And then, so I think the problem we're going to solve is speed and how we're going to fulfill that speed, whether it's through how we're going to, get to that kind of new world of, send it to me, to get it to my house today. I ordered it 2 hours ago and I expect to have it. That's what we're working on.